really strange year. You know, like I was like basically junior guy there compared to these assassins that have been there for years and years. Danny Moore, Terry Stone, Dan Leonard, you know, Mark Tiedman. And August 1st, we'd have 4 or 5 sheep hunts on the go. And it was very, very rare that anybody would go past day 5 or 6 before they got a real nice ram. It was a real oddball year. The very first hunt, I had a guy named Alan Hamberlin. You can Google him up. Alan's a very avid guy. He's not going to take a shot or even look at anything unless it's world class. I mean, he told me that fresh off the plane. He says, look, and he had a recurve bow. He told me flat out he was looking for something absolutely ridiculous. And he knew he was probably going to go home with nothing. So we hunted really, really hard that first hunt, August 1st, 14th hunt. We found a small 8-year-old ram with a couple other little guys. I found another band of rams on this other hill. I think there was 8 or 9 rams in that band, and one was a real nice, heavy, kind of double trim, mid-160s stone sheep. And he didn't even want to go take a look at it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you want world class. That's not a world class ram. It's just a nice, big, mature ram. So we passed on it, and we hunted hard. We hunted it every single day of that hunt to the very last minute. We went spike camping, and Alan went home without a ram. It turns out that hunt, nobody got a ram in all 5 sheep camps. So you can imagine the outfitter stress level with trophy fees, etc. I mean, that just doesn't happen, and especially with the crew at Stone Mountain Safaris at the time. I mean, these guys are the best. These guys are the best assassins going. Nobody got a ram. It was absolutely crazy. So pressure was on. Everybody is feeling kind of anxious, and pressure was on big time to get these tags cut. My very next hunt started with rain and hell. Actually, I even snowed a couple times. And I had a guy named David Baradol from Utah. Dave was a great guy, absolutely keen, avid guy. He's a regular guy like any one of us, worked for Utah Hydro. He wasn't one of our typical sheep hunters who hunt the planet and have gazillions of dollars. I want to talk about pressure. It was his Grand Slam ram, remortgaged the house literally for his dream. I mean, this is his lifelong dream. This is a true passionate outdoorsman. You know, not a guy that didn't care about sheep hunting or didn't care about learning about the rams. Sadly, we get a lot of those guys that come up. They just want to get the ram, check it off, and go back to the banquet and get the recognition for it. He was so excited to be here hunting with us, and it was literally his last and only chance of his entire lifetime to get his stone sheep, complete his Grand Slam. I think he self-guided himself on his doll. And he had lucked out and got draws for his desert and his bighorn, and he got it done. And he had been on one other stone sheep hunt in BC years back, and apparently it didn't go so well, and he got kind of screwed out of the deal. And the outfitter promised him a dirt sheep hunt and later on to come back, and that never happened, unfortunately. So here he was. I forget how old he was. I think he was like 60 or something. This was it. This is David's last chance. So you want to talk about pressure. I got bad weather. I got no rams. Nobody's killing rams. The outfitter's going crazy with stress. I'm not sure how much punishment I can take him through to find his sheep. Because normally when you get a guy, when I get new guys and they show up, and I ask him every time, like, okay, so is there anything I need to know about? Are your knees, got a bad knees, got a bad hip, back, you have any issues? So what I do is I know how to govern their hunt. I know how to start the hunt off. Some guys, I'll slowly build them up. You know, I'll get their mountain legs built up underneath them. We'll go out, unless I've got a ram sitting on ice. If I know it's going to be a hunt, I don't throw them right into dragging them straight up a hike from hell. That's stupid. I take them on little mini hikes, and I slowly build them up until about day 4, day 5. We start getting into some real good hiking and start picking up our physical end of the hunt. Nobody tells you the truth. Nobody does. Every single time I ask guys, so is there anything you need to know about? How are you? How's your health? Are you okay? Yep, I'm good. I'm good to go. I'll get up there. Okay. It's no big deal. You can tell me, because I'm going to find out anyway. You can't hide it from me. If there's something's wrong, I'm going to see it. So just let me know now, so I know how to lay out this hunt, so it's enjoyable for you for the entire time, and we don't ruin you right off the beginning, so that if we have to, we can hunt thoroughly the entire hunt until we get it done. Nope, I'm good. Okay, so off we go. I'm taking it slow as usual. I take him to a couple cool spots, great places of glass. The weather sucks. And that night, first night, I noticed David's, he's rubbing his knee. I'm like, roger that, he's got a sore knee. And I could totally tell by day 2 or 3, his knee pain was definitely starting to pick up. I could see him favoring it, see him rubbing it. David was a small guy, but he was gonna get it done. You could tell, he's getting it done. He's not gonna complain about the pain he's in. I can tell he's in pain. I know what pain looks like, my hunter, especially after you've guided a whole pilot for years. You know what the pain looks like. I'm like, okay, I can't start just ripping him up big hikes right off the bat just to go have a look in the basin. I got to pick my spots well, where I'm gonna glass from to try to find him a ramp, and then save his energy, save his knee until that one day when we really got to go and get this thing done. So early in the hunt, I checked out some good spots. Same old, nothing. Handful of ewes, handful of lambs here, a couple dinker rams there. And the whole time I'm thinking, man, how am I going to find those guys? That heavy ram that I seen the hunt earlier, because it had been totally socked in fog and rain. I hadn't seen those sheep for like 5 or 6 days. Finally one evening I look up and boom, there they are. There's those rams. And they're on the long end. We're in the foothills of the Rockies. We're not up in those big, nasty, craggly peaks. We're in where, I mean, we've got some nasty peaks we can go to, but we also have some sort of rolling, long, the long ripples of the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, where you can almost ride up, 3/4 up to the top of these things. And this one particular mountain is shaped like a big, long loaf. It's like, I don't know how to guess how long it is. A mile and a bit, probably. And what we do is we ride from the lower end in the bottom of the valley up the creek bed. We ride the full length of this thing looking up, typically, and we can ride right up to this grassy pass. And then we ride along there for another 800 yards and we hang a right, and we can ride up maybe another 150 yards in height, 200 yards in height, tie the horses up, and then we climb straight up and get on the top of this thing and do your stalk or sneak around and look down in these little basins and slides that are all around it. And there's no cover on top of this thing. We're right above tree line. These rams are on the opposite end of where we ride up to the pass. They're way down, a couple miles down, and they're in the top of a burn in this tiny little hole. And they're about 150, 200 yards down from the crest of this thing, down in the top of, just above a burn, and where these little stunted spruce start showing up. So I showed David that ram in the spotting scope, and I go, what do you think? You like this guy? And he says, and he's so happy. He says, I would do anything for that sheep. That's my dream ram. I would do anything for that ram. I'm like, okay, let's go get him. I didn't want to risk taking David from the very bottom of the valley, and hike them straight up through a burn. Possibly get a shot of these guys, possibly not. And if we blow it, we gotta, because the thermals come uphill at about 9 or 10 o'clock. And if we go all the way around the backside, we can't get up there because of cliffs in the backside. I figure, okay, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put those suckers to bed tonight, and in the morning, I'm gonna get the Wrangler to ride with us. And we're gonna ride all the way up the bottom of the valley, all the way up to that grassy pass, and then we're gonna ride up the slope as high as we can, and I'm gonna get the kid to drop us off, and then we're committed, because I know I can get David on top of the mountain, and then it's just walk all the way back on the top of that thing, stay out of sight, drop down and kill those rams, or find them on top at the other end. Either way, find them. We know they're on that end of the mountain at last light. I was feeling real bad for the outfitter, so couldn't imagine the stress they're going through with nothing getting taken down. So I phoned him on the satellite phone. We had one of those old early iridium things that work hardly ever. And I phoned him up and I said, I just want to let you know we're gonna go kill a big ram tomorrow. Just to let you know, just to give you some good news for a change in the satellite phone, something to look forward to. So take note of that for later. So off we go. We get up in the morning. It's not raining. It's pitch black. I want to get up there as early as I can. We get the kid to ride us all up the grassy pass, all up the side of the mountain, drops us off, and he leaves. That's it. That's all she wrote. Now we're committed. I'm going to take my hunter with the bad knee. I'm going to take him on top of that mountain, which which is definitely going to be a tax on his body. We're committed. We have to do this, because if we walk all the way down, kill that ram, and I told the kid to tie up the horses at the bottom of the mountain way at that end for us. There's no way out of it. We are hiking a long ways and down through a nasty burn to get back to the horses. We hike up the mountain. We just get to the top. Sure enough, it starts fogging in. And I mean fogging in, and this little system comes through. You couldn't see it from where we were in the morning, so we're down tight in those valleys. You couldn't see anything in the horizon. It's not impossible. So here I am. I'm on the top of this sheep mountain. It's socking in with fog. I could not believe it. And then it's actually drizzling a bit. I'm like, are you kidding me? How can this actually be happening? Like, this isn't happening. And there isn't a sheep hunter alive, guide, who's dumb enough to go on top of the sheep mountain where the rams are in the fog and think you're gonna go look for them or think you're gonna find them. You just don't do that. That's about as dumb a move as it could ever be, as there could ever be for any hunting. So I'm sitting there in this big rock pile looking at the ground. David's looking at me, waiting for my answer, what to do, what are we gonna do? And I'm not kidding you, it wasn't a voice. Something inside me was urging me to keep going. Still to this day, it's just kind of weird. But something was urging me to keep going down that mountaintop towards where I last saw those rams the night before. And I'm like, you know what, we're gonna go for it, we're gonna keep going. He's like, okay, let's go. So off we go. And we start hiking down along the top, and it comes into a dip, and you gotta climb up this rock face, this big notch in the top of this mountain. Sure enough, here's about 18 or 20 ewes and lambs in front of us, about 200 yards, 150 yards. You can just see them. We're just at the bottom of this ceiling of snot. Off they go, stampeding in the direction of the rams. Are you serious? Are you frickin' serious? So I get dropped off. I got no horses. I'm committed to dragging my poor hunter through absolute hell just to get back, let alone shooting around. Then it fogs in. Then I commit to keep on going on the stalk through the fog. Then I bump into a big band of ewes and lambs, and they go stampeding into the direction of where the rams should be. We're not supposed to kill sheep anymore. I don't know what's going on. But it really sucked. The weirdest thing about it was there wasn't an ounce of emotion in me that said to stop, retreat, and get off that mountain, go to the horses and do it another day. It was the weirdest thing. We're like, no, we're gonna keep going. I think we gotta keep going. Let's just keep going. So this mountain's shaped like this. If you're looking lengthwise on it, it's across the top, maybe 200 yards across the top, and it steeply drops off on both sides. The rams are on this side if I'm looking down the mountain. The ewes and lambs are running right along the top, disappear in the fog. So we get up that one last notch. I dropped us down about 75 yards below the crest of the mountain, and we start going straight down the mountain. Couldn't see 50 feet, couldn't see 50 yards. And here we are stalking some rams somewhere on this mountain that might be a mile away from us down the mountain, down along the top. So I've glassed that mountain for years, and there was a notch, there's a big crack in the top of this thing. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to envision looking at the mountain from the ground, and I can see that crack in the top, and then I'm guessing how much farther down to that little grass patch surrounded by that rock wall where the rams are. I'm like, all right, I think they're about 400 yards past that split in the top, and then they're probably about 100 yards downhill. Okay, so we start hiking along the top, and I'm just thinking this in my mind. David's trucking along behind me, and then I know I got to get on top of this mountain now so I don't miss that split in the top in the fog, so I can guess and start pacing 400 paces past the split in the top of the mountain, and then I'm going to start dropping down, and I'm going to start looking for those rams. And these sheep were there the night before. I didn't even know if they're still there. We're hiking along, all of a sudden, boom, here's this rocky little split right at their feet. I'm like, okay, this is it. And I'm looking down over the edge, you can see the split carrying on all the way down. I'm like, yep, this is the split. All right, just count to 400. So I'm walking along the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, counting my paces. I counted 400 paces. I had the tripod and my spot scope, and I put it in my lap, and we're sitting down on our butts, and David's got his shooting sticks and his 270, classic setup, and he's got that across his lap, and you're sitting there on your butt, like doing the forward crab crawl. So we're slowly crab crawling. There's zero cover. There's no cover whatsoever. It's lichen. It's lichen and little moss about this deep. So now we're in fog, wind swirling. Don't even know if the sheep are here. Don't even know if I'm where they are. And now we are completely, perfectly skylined on the top of this thing, creeping down on our butts, dropping down, stop, sitting there, dropping down, stop, sit there. Our visibility might have been 35 yards, maybe. It was the stupidest move I've ever made in my life, but something kept telling me to keep going. And then all of a sudden, the ceiling of that fog lifted up to, it was just about eye level with us, and here's 9 rams laying down in front of us, less than 100 yards, and they don't see us. I could not believe it. I was so freaked out. My hands are trembling, and I'm trying to get my binoculars up. Absolutely slow to get my eyes in my binoculars and get them on these guys, because nobody's over the bridge. They never are for me. I've had 99% of the rams I've guided and killed have all been by age. I never get those tipped long ones, the no-brainers. I don't have that luck. I don't know why. I'm always plagued with heavy, gnarly, broomed off guys 99% of the time. The closest ram was probably 50 yards away, laying there broadside. He looked like he was 7 or 8. Not a bad ram. But it wasn't that heavy one that I'd seen before with Alan Hamberlin. And there was one ram, the farthest ram, and he might have been 80 yards away, and he's the only sheep looking at us. He's locked on us like this, and we can only see him from his brisket up. He's just over that edge, like one bound and he's gone. One bound and he's gone. And he's the only one, and he's just locked on us, or looking up at us. He's locked on us, looking up at us like this, actually quartering this way too. He's looking this way, and he's looking up, and he's locked on us. The other ones are just laying there like this. The others are just laying there chewing their cud. I'm whispering to David, I go, slowly, get those sticks up. He's moving so slow. It was the most intense frickin' moment. You just couldn't have had more pressure. You couldn't have had more pressure on a guide, if you care, than having a guy. He has literally, for real, remortgaged the house. It's his lifelong dream, 20-year dream. It's his Grand Slam ram. There's nothing he's more passionate about in the outdoors than sheep hunting. I'm the junior guy, basically, on the existing crew at the time of Stone Mountain Safaris. These guys are all, these guys have all got over 150 rams plus each, and been there forever, and none of them got a ram. Nobody's got a ram first hunt. The pressure was ridiculous. And after me and Alan, we hunted the living snot out of all the surrounding mountains of my camp that hunt before. I never found nothing. One little tiny 8-year-old ram, and this ram I'm looking at right now. That's it. David's knees killing him. I got him on the top of the mountain. This thing's less than 100 yards away. The only one staring at us. The pressure was ridiculous. If there could have been intense all it was missing was the intense music background. And I'm looking. I can't keep my hands steady to look at this guy. I got these powerful 10x56 Leicas, I think they were. After Alan gave me these things. And I'm shaking like a leaf. There's nothing. There's no way. And I got to age this thing. I can't count 8 on him. David's got his gun, his scope's on this thing, ready to go. Because you just say when. I'm like, don't shoot. When you're that close, it's foggy out. He doesn't have anything. He's not snapped off on one side, tipped on the other. 40 inches long. He's none of that. He's just comes down. He's heavy. He's even. He's a dark ram. But there's a few other rams in there that looked very, very similar. So you can't just go, yeah, that's him popping. And I haven't aged him. Now here I go, struggling to get my tripod set up over top of my lap as I'm sitting there. Get my spot and scope on him. It could have been more tense of a moment. Minutes. And I'm slowly, I'm moving like this. Trying to get, I got this big brown cowboy hat on. I got a brown oilskin jacket on. I'm skyline. It doesn't get more of a worse setup. So I finally get my eyeball and spot and scope on him. He's filling the spot and scope. I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking through there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh man. Then I'm looking at the other side. Then he moved his head once like this. Throws you right off again. You're trying to focus on which antler and you're looking, or which horn, and you're looking. And I'm looking. That 8 ring was buried in the fur on his forehead. It couldn't have been a worse setup. We're talking less than 100 yards away, spot scope cranked up right on this thing's face, and I can't count 8 rings easily. Poor David's having a nervous breakdown. Can you imagine the anticipation David's got of this moment? He's been dreaming about this moment for real. He is a true, passionate sheep hunter. Member of the Wild Sheep Foundation. He wins all sorts of photography competitions at the banquets with wild sheep. You imagine what he's going through. He's got this ram on the scope the entire time with his finger on the trigger and the safety off. And I'm just sitting there and I can't tell him to shoot it for what probably seemed forever. I'm looking, and all of a sudden I thought I saw an 8 ring. And then he moved his head again. I thought I saw an 8 ring again. Exact same spot. And as soon as I think I've seen something 3 times, I've seen it. Whether it's a 6 point or a 3rd brow sign on a moose or whatever. If I think I've seen something 3 times in a row in the exact same spot, looking the exact same, I seen it. That thing's 8 years old, shoot it. Boom! Thump! Dumps the ram. There's a stampede in front of us. Rams are getting up and bolting all over the place. You know, that was quite the moment, man. The build-up for that hunt, the emotional build-up, it was just an insane, crazy, emotional moment. And the second he pulled that trigger and that ram disappeared in the willow, it's definitely it was an emotional moment for David. I just walked over, slapped him on the back, and said, "Just sit here for a little bit and take it all in, buddy." And he definitely got a little emotional there. He ran down to that ram. You know, you're still kind of stressed out. And I grabbed him right away, and I'm looking at him, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Thank you. 8 clean rings on him. He was a 164 ram, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful day, a beautiful moment. And that was just an absolute crazy 1 in a frickin' million sheep hunt. I'll never duplicate that ever again. That'll never happen again. And it was funny because when Dave came in on the plane, and this is what he told me, Dave's definitely a God-fearing man. He told me flat out, he said after I called on the satellite phone and told him we're going to get this big ram, he said that next day in the morning when he figured we'd be stalking this thing, he said that him and Ellie sat there and they prayed and they prayed and they prayed that we would get the ram. So who knows? Go figure. I mean, I got dropped off at the top of that mountain with this guy, sore knee, nobody's killing sheep anywhere. It was the most messed up year ever. And I got fog and rain and sleet socked right in. I couldn't see 50 yards. And something was urging me to keep going. Whatever happened that day happened. That's the way it went down. And I'll never forget that sheep hunt as long as I live. That was absolutely one of the more memorable experiences and memorable hunts I've had in my guiding and hunting career as a whole. Very cool.